There we go. Now we're good. Thank you.
Are we good?
Work.
All right. We had some technical issues. So far, we've had the Pledge of Allegiance. Can I just get a thumbs up or from somebody online to confirm that you're hearing us okay and we got those technical issues resolved? All right. I think we're good. I could say if you can't hear us, but that didn't work. All right, all indications are that we're good, and we've got the backups for there. All right, thank you. I will entertain a motion to accept the agenda as presented.
I move to accept the agenda as presented.
I'll second.
All right, I have a motion from Council Member Ronning, a second from Council Member Daniels. I would just like to make one small edit. Right now, we currently have it saying approve the minutes of the May 11th meeting. That's a fat finger. It should be the May 12th meeting. So when we get to that spot of the agenda, if we can just make that correction. Any other comments at the table? Hearing none, can I get a roll call, please?
Battle?
Yes.
Daniel?
Yes.
Davis?
Yes.
Ronnie?
Yes.
Ruth?
Yes.
Cuban?
Yes.
All right, 6-0, the motion passes. I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes of May 12th.
I move to approve the minutes of May 12th.
I'll second.
I have a motion from Council Member Ronning, a second from Council Member Daniels. Discussion at the table.
I think in the minutes it had winds and wings, or, for the airport.
Was that an English word?
Winds and wings.
Oh.
So in one part in the minutes, addressing the approval of an event,
Okay, so I'm looking in
it said
it says
winds
winds
instead of wings.
wings and wheels.
Yeah, so not that it matters, but I just want to make note of that.
Let's go ahead and fix it.
Okay,
All right.
winds and wings.
One
Okay.
letter.
Thank you.
Okay, any other catches from council? All right, and I believe that's just a typo. So we don't have to have an amendment. We can just, any other discussion at the table? If not, let's get a roll call, please.
Battle?
Yes.
Daniel? Yes. Davis?
Yes.
Ronnie?
Yes.
Ruth?
Yes.
Cuban?
Abstain, I wasn't here. And I know I can vote, but I don't want to.
5-0, caught it this time, the motion passes. All right, mayor's comments. The first thing I wanted to share is there was some last minute emails going around tonight. I printed a hard copy from Betsy Scanlon. Also had gotten a call from a couple of council members on it. I was able to reach out and clarify that $500,000 that's referenced in that was a placeholder put there by our city attorney, putting in a big number so that we wouldn't miss it. There is an actual appraisal, and so when we get to that part of the meeting tonight, we can just discuss it to basically say what the appraisal is, and the appraisal is not anywhere near that number. But I just wanted to share that. We had printed that, and then I was reaching out to Public Works and to the attorney to find out where that number had come from and where it was. So I just want to go ahead and address that is in fact not the correct number, and in the future we'll recommend that they use blanks so that we can pull down on that confusion.
Yeah.
We do still have an opening for the pool house manager. Today, we got that shared with the schools because that's a prime source of potential candidates there, as they're all coming into looking for that job that fits perfectly in between their school hours. The other thing that I wanted to share is there was an error in some of you may have noticed it or heard comments on it. A couple weeks ago when we had the posting for our floodplain permit, which is for the water, there's a couple spots where they're drilling under the highway, and in the listing, it was the wrong highway. Thank you. I will go ahead and give a special call out to our council president, who was the one who spotted that early that morning in the electronic edition and reached out. Just to be clear, that was not an error on the paper's part. That was an error on our part in getting the wrong information. So we reran that, but what that did is that delays by a week getting our floodplain permit. And so there is some shuffling of the water projects that are being done. There is going to be a little bit of an incidental minimal cost, probably a couple of $1,000 is what we're looking at. We are talking to the contractors who do that work for us, but we also have that stuff built in. So the biggest delay is it's going to mean an extra week delay for particularly people down along Park, where that road is shut down for the drilling going across there. Well, as far as other projects, the water project started today, or excuse me, they're starting 17th and 19th. There is a planned water shutdown for Hauser on the south end of 19th tomorrow for 8 hours. Hopefully it'll really only be 2 or 3. They did door hangers and knocked on doors and everybody and let folks know, so hopefully that'll be pretty minimal.
South end?
South end, so south of 19th
Okay.
on Hagen, on Hauser.
Okay.
South of 19 on Hauser.
Okay.
If I didn't get that right the first time, pardon?
Okay.
Fountain and Butner specifically.
Okay.
Okay. And the credit union?
Pardon?
And the credit union?
Is down in that area. Do I have to
Yep.
regurgitate all the?
No,
yeah. So
you're good.
they went through and talked to all of those people. This is just in case we missed anybody. I'm sharing that
Okay.
information here.
So, just in case I get a phone call.
The EDA street projects is going to be working on 2nd Street and moving south on Hagen. They were still today working on getting the schedule posted to the website. We have not yet received that, but we are continuing to push them and holding paychecks. So I suspect we're going to get an answer very quickly. The bids will come in on May 28th for the wastewater. So you'll notice in the packet we have that we kind of, in making sure we didn't drop the ball, we had the fill in the blanks version. It's actually not until the 28th that they are doing that opening, so we'll award that at the June 9th meeting. The water bottle station down by the Pollard got turned on today. We had our last freeze, hopefully, so that's back up.
Say that out loud.
I said that out loud even. But anyway, that water is turned back on. Somebody had reached out. If that is somebody in the room, if you would make sure you are not joined on to audio. I have a sneaking suspicion. Yeah, just make sure you're not part of the audio, and that'll work from that. That is actually all I have for comments, I think, unless somebody can remind me of something I've forgotten that I'm supposed to have an answer to for the table.
I just have a question about Rocky Fork.
Go ahead.
Just wondering, I know we planted grass seed, and it doesn't look very grassy yet. It has a lot of weeds. I'm wondering if that has any plan for spray or mitigation.
For watering?
I can have to go down and look at it. I do know that we're still looking at getting in there with very large equipment and tearing it up, so we don't want to spend a lot of money, but we do want it to not be mud and dirt, so.
I mostly don't want it to be weeds, especially noxious variety, so
yeah,
that's my particular.
We can definitely spray against noxious variety. Noted.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Councilmember Rood.
What's the arrangement that COP has with us and the county of using Cedarwood Villa as a staging area?
That would be an arrangement with the county, and I have no idea. To my knowledge, they are what I'm aware of is what we are doing down by Coal Miners Park. So if they are using that, that would be an arrangement they have with the county. We have no agreement with them. It's not our land.
It was our project, but
it was on their county commissioner's agenda a couple of weeks ago, so they must have gone to them direct.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So we had no involvement in that.
Cool.
Okay, other questions from the table? All right, hearing none. Let's go ahead and open the meeting up for public comment at this time. This is your opportunity to be heard by the council on anything on or off the agenda. There will be another public comment period at the end of the meeting as well. And then we always have public comment on action items that are up for action. We only have one action item this time. But with that, I am going to go ahead and pull up my timer. You'll have 3 minutes. If you would please introduce yourself or state your name for the record, and then direct your comments to the table. And just a reminder, this is not public conversation, it's public comment. And so we will listen, and then I will give council opportunity if warranted or necessary after public comment. Go ahead and step up.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, for the record, my name is Barb Beck, and I apologize to some of you who keep seeing this again and again and again, but we want to make sure, because each time it's a little different, we make some progress. So it feels like we're making a lot of progress now, and thanks in part, large part, to Great West Engineering, and we have roped in Maples every chance we get, and he's a busy guy. So we want him, you know, riding on top of this to make sure that he's comfortable with everything. So Great West has done a survey, a site design, and they're going to be preparing documents for a bidding process. And this is all moving ahead with the understanding that you guys are still the ultimate decision makers on what happens with that site out there. So the only money that we are spending now is private donations that we have raised to get this engineering work taken care of ahead of time. So the funding, I attached a copy of the engineer's estimate at the back, and it continued to go up over time. We think that's probably higher than what it's actually going to cost now. And so we still have a gap of maybe about $200,000. We don't know. And so part of the reason for wanting to put out bids is to see what comes back, because Great West says it's a very competitive bidding environment right now on these kinds of projects, and they anticipate we'll get a pretty good offer back from some contractors, which would be very cool. At the very bottom, I listed the 2 public concerns that we are aware of, and maybe there's more we're not aware of. I don't think so, but the first one is about removing some of the trees from the site, and you'll see on that site design we're going to be able to save some of them. So we're really happy about that, and we're going to continue to work with Parks Board. And the second one is about the use of resort tax dollars, because that's a piece of our funding if you guys choose to give that to us. So whether those are used for recreation or not. So obviously that decision sits right here at the table. You guys make that decision. So you know where to find us if you guys have any questions. So thank you.
All right, thank you, Barb.
You're welcome. Barb.
Hi, I am Rebecca Hardy. I live on North Hauser, immediately across the street from Lions Park, across the street from the ice skating rink. And for those of you who are not aware, this is something that the city or somebody requests that they put on my door, letting me know that that the Carbon County Arts Guild is going to be using Lions Park for about 36 hours in September. And I was pleased to receive this. I have not received anything letting me know about a whole season of construction and all these other changes that will be happening across the street from my house. Furthermore, because there seems to be no situation at all, no planning for parking, all the extra parking from all the extra activities and people who will be coming once this big concrete monstrosity happens. I would like to know if you would like to consider purchasing our house, built by Doris and Arnold Whitcomb. I think they would be very sad, and we put over $100,000 into it. You could buy my house and bulldoze it, and you can use that for parking for this project if you wish. Secondly, my husband was unable to make it to the meeting tonight. I'll read a letter from him to the mayor and Red Lodge City Council. In all the meetings and discussions, one important matter has not been addressed. Our home at 405 North Hauser, is closer to the proposed rink in Lions Park than any other house. You have denied having made any final decisions on this project. But comments by Tom Coons, the spearhead of this effort, and other council and city personnel and actions make it perfectly clear that that will happen. Tom has even suggested that the little triangle park could be bulldozed and turned into parking. Not addressed by anyone is the devaluation of our home and all the others nearby by the missing green space. That would have become obvious if this massive effort were to be constructed across the street of any of the people so hell-bent to make this happen. My question is, who is going to compensate us for our property devaluation? We are retired people living on a pension. If the city moves ahead without considering the fiscal damage to our home, it will have seriously damaged our quality of life and the value of our home of 20 years. Does this not matter to the mayor? Sincerely, and council. Sincerely, Donald Hardy. Thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca. Anyone else in the room? All right, go ahead.
Steve Smith, 517 North Hauser.
Don't say that.
You can say it.
I would just like to bring attention to an item that came up in the Admin and Finance Committee meeting this morning, reference the Sustainability Board being given an assignment to look into the City of Red Lodge's feelings on the proposed merger between Northwestern Energy and Black Hills Energy. There is an item, I want to just call attention to those of you, there's now too many of them, were involved in this, but there is, in your packet, there is a suggested language from the Sustainability Board. So I just want to draw attention to that. So it's not up for action tonight. So I just want to make sure you have an idea that that is there, and all of the possible pitfalls of this merger that the PSC is going to decide upon we don't know in the near future. There's a comment period that the PSC has established for pros and cons of the merger. They have not put an end date to the submission of comments. Maybe it happens this afternoon, we don't know. But I think it would behoove us to behoove you as the city council to take some action on this as soon as you feel that you can do this, with the threat of increased electricity rates looming on the horizon should this merger go through. The merger, although Northwestern Energy has not stated it thus publicly, it is for the provision of power for data centers. And there's a lot of pros and cons about data centers, but there's little doubt that it will have it will put upward pressure on utility rates for all of Northwestern Energy's customers, of which we are one. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Other comments in the chamber? Seeing none in the chamber, let me look online, calling for public comments. And turn on a camera or raise a hand. Second call for public comments. And third call for public comments to keep it official. And seeing none, we'll go ahead and close public comments. At this time, I'm going to bring the conversation back to the table. I'd like to take a moment first, and then I'll give council an opportunity if you'd like to add as well. I'm sorry that Rebecca left. I'm a little concerned with some of her comments. I just want to add some clarity. Construction work that she's seeing going on is related to streets in the area, and those timelines to the latest and best of our ability are online and posted that are out there. The ice rink has not been determined. That is certainly not construction. That is an ongoing conversation. There is going to be, what council did approve was a study for a preliminary engineering report. They were going to look at least 2 sites and make recommendations. But if there is a feeling or a sentiment that A, that is decided, and B, that's the construction work, that's misinformation, and I like to correct that as quickly as possible. And then Steve Smith mentioned that we do not have action on that on the agenda. Just to clarify, there will be a discussion. I did see Council Member Battles got some wording sent out. While it's not a formal action, I do believe that there's a goal that there may be something that council can collectively sign following this meeting. So I just wanted to add a little bit of a clarification to that in case, because that is on the agenda. Is there anything that anybody at the table would like to add to any of the comments?
I'd like to add that Rebecca Hardy
Councilmember Green.
returned to the room.
Oh, hi, I did. Were you here for the whole answer?
No.
Oh, no, I'm sorry, my husband.
I'll do the quick version. There's a longer version online if you want to go back and watch the repeat. The construction going on is street related. It is not ice rink related, and those schedules are online if you want to go out and see that. The ice rink has not been yet decided to do that. There is a preliminary engineering report that is yet to be done that's going to come back and evaluate a couple of different sites. So I just want to make sure, some of the comments sounded like there was some potentially bad information out there, and I do my best to make sure that the right information is out there. So, all right, other comments from the table? All right, hearing none, let's go ahead and proceed on to action items, and I will entertain a motion for resolution number 3738.
I move to approve resolution number 3738, resolution to accept the determination that the environmental assessment is appropriate for the Rocky Fork Bank Stabilization Project.
I have a motion. Did I hear a second?
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion from Councilmember Ronning, a second from Councilmember Daniels. Discussion at the table before we go to public comment.
We talked about this at the last meeting, so if anybody has any issues or anything, now would be the time, I guess.
By definition, yes.
I know, so, yes. But it's pretty straightforward. But hopefully everyone had a chance to at least skim through the environmental assessment. As someone stated at the last meeting, it's very organized and very easy to read as far as those go.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
All right, any other discussion at the table? Hearing none, we're going to go ahead and open public comment. This is public comment specific to Resolution 3738, which is a resolution to accept the Rocky Fork Stabilization Environmental Assessment. Go ahead and open public comment on Resolution 3738. Looking in the room? Seeing none, looking online? Public comment going twice? Public comment going 3 times? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and close the public comment. Bring it back to the table. Any further discussion? Hearing none, can I get a roll call, please?
Petals?
Yes.
Daniel?
Yes.
Davis?
Yes.
Ronnie?
Yes.
Rude?
Yes.
Stupin?
Yes.
6-0, the motion passes. All right, that completes the action portion of our meeting tonight. For those who are not regular attendees at council meeting, the next portion of our agenda is a council work session, which is council's opportunity to talk over and review things that are coming up and hopefully make it so that passing those actions is all the exciting as that last one was. We try to make sure that everything has a voice and gets a chance to be heard multiple times before we go. So what we'll do is we will start with public health and safety, and for that we will look to Committee Chair Daniels to give us an update of what you guys discussed today.
Okay, yeah, the majority of our time was spent with Chief Schrock going over a certain case, and then discussing basically keeping our streets safe. We talked about the safety zone for Boys and Girls Club, still working on coming up with some solutions on that, but it looks like we might have some signage that we can place out there. We know that Schrock is going to be out there, and he did make it publicly known that he will be sitting in an unmarked vehicle over there. Didn't tell us when, but he did give us the vicinity of the area, so he's going to be keeping an eye out and doing what he has to do out there. Other than that, he did mention that there is a position open for a sergeant, and it looks like they're going to try to keep that all internal. Once that is gone through and they've got the hiring there, then they will open up the next position to fill whoever fills the sergeant. Am I getting that right? Other than that, nope, we're just, main concern is safety with some of our intersections and trying to come up with solutions. Yeah.
Okay. Any questions for public health and safety? All right, thank you. Next, we will go to admin and finance, unless you think that it's all going to be that quick. Admin and finance is where it's all happening. So with that, we will look to Committee Chair Ronning to walk us through that.
Great, okay. First up, we have the resolution to procure workers' comp coverage with the Montana State Fund. There is a resolution in the packet. As we discussed at the last meeting, MMIA is no longer going to be offering workers' comp insurance as of July 1st. So we will need to, we had to go out onto the open market and get workers' comp. Montana State Fund is one of the few insurance companies in Montana that offers workers' comp to higher risk employees, such as police officers, our city crew, you know, that's crawling down in holes, you know, to fix water lines, things like that, or
we call them public works.
Insurance
yeah. So, you know, there's just, there's not a lot of, in the private sector, a lot of insurance companies that will insure those risks. Montana State Fund is part of the state government, but they have their own separate section, their own separate underwriting, everything. So this is where I think most everyone of the cities that is getting canceled for workers' comp through MMIA is going through. There's not a lot of options out there, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
And that's, as I've talked to the other municipalities, that's where they are all ending up. A lot of them are actually reporting a savings over what we had through the league. We will not be seeing that this year as we have a previous claim on our books, but as that rolls off, hopefully we will then see a little bit of an improvement as well going forward.
So hopefully, if there's any questions, let us know now. Otherwise, we'll put it up for action at next time because we have to say yes before June 30th.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Just the way you said it, I don't know if that's the way you meant it, but you said what MMIA is going through. Are they going through some financial?
No, they just don't want, I don't know why I mean, workers' comp is a very volatile, I guess, insurance. And they probably, you know, are just trying to limit some of that risk and that exposure, I would say, because you have one bad workers' comp claim and it can be a multi-million-dollar claim because you're paying someone's wages for the rest of their life.
Okay, just wondering.
And we're a pool of cities, so we're taking on that risk for all of them. So.
And I will add the other part of that is that they also do secondary insurance, and I would look to one of our insurance folks.
Yes.
So they basically went out, and so I think what happened is that they were, as the cost of that secondary insurance was going up, they just decided that was a market they were getting out of.
Yeah.
So they're still bound by all the same rules.
It's called reinsuring. So they reinsure the risk.
Did we answer the question?
I just wondered if MIA was going kaput or anything.
No, they just, I think the cost of it was going to go up significantly.
I figured that.
Yes,
Bonnie,
yes.
go ahead.
They pulled in all of like clerks and stuff, and they gave us a heads up long.
Yeah.
So they've had a lot of members that have pulled already out of the program and went to the state fund. So because our pool was getting smaller,
Yes.
they're like, we can't afford
Right.
to continue without stacking up the rates for everybody else. So they felt it was fair just to drop that coverage, but we still have our liability through them, all
Your
of
property.
our medical,
Mhm.
our property.
Okay.
So
Thank you.
the workman's
Yeah.
comp.
Everybody okay with moving that forward for action next week? We will make it so.
Okay, next. So next we have the resolution to review and accept a donation of land for a walking trail. So this is just, in admin and finance, all we are talking about is just the resolution to accept the donation, for the walking trail. We are not involved, admin and finance is not involved at all in what the trail is gonna look like, where it's gonna go, all of that part of it. They're two different issues, I guess. So all we're concentrating on here is just the resolution to accept the donation, in admin and finance. So,
Do you want to go over the edits? Because I do know there's a couple of things that have been identified, one of which we referenced already.
I did not write that down. Jeremy, do you want to go ahead and, I'm like, I don't think I wrote it down.
I have the notes, I can, because I'm quoting you.
Yes.
So in paragraph 3, the trail amenities, The city shall supply signage at both ends of the trail with a map to show users where they can continue hiking, period. So it's gonna be the end of that. There was a question about listing and including all of the streets on Nutting Alley and then north on, and it was basically just, the vote was just to end that. We're gonna provide signage so that everybody knows how to get around. And then the other one, which was called out by one of our constituents, the value of the donated property is determined to be $500,000. That was a placeholder. And I think what we need to have there is just wording that just says, is represented in the attached survey as an appendix, and we'll just attach it. From the city standpoint, we do not want to be in the business of saying what property is worth or not worth.
And the attached appraisal? Not
Attached
survey.
appraisal. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
attached appraisal.
Just want to make sure that language is very clear.
And it is my understanding that that is done, but our attorney, when he was drafting this, did not have that at his disposal.
Yeah, next time a blank would be.
We'll get to see the appraisal.
It will be attached as an appendix when we take the action. And the reality is, it makes zero difference to the city. It does make great difference to the donor when it comes to the tax purposes and stuff.
Sure.
Yep.
So those were the two changes, and then the inclusion of the survey as well as the appraisal, if we're gonna reference it all, to be, both will be exhibits that are attached.
Okay.
Jeremy, I'm sorry, Councilmember Battles, did we do that justice?
I believe that captured it, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Oh, sorry. Not take notes this morning, I apologize.
Councilmember Davis?
So you said you were just looking at the donation agreement, but, no budget yet for how much the city cost will be involved with the things that we agreed to
No,
pay for?
this is, what our Public Works Director did and built into this was basically there's a time frame that says, part of it is because we want to do engineering studies to address the possible concerns and raised about how steep it is. I will add that survey has changed slightly. They've widened and changed the shape of a little bit to allow a little bit wider cutbacks on the trails to get a better grade on that. So we'll have that, but it basically, we won't do an engineering report until after the city land. And so there's a clause in here that basically says if we don't build on it within 5 years, then it reverts. If we don't use it for its express purpose.
Right.
That was Mike's recommendation and the attorneys on how to handle that, rather than doing engineering work on somebody else's property. And
Yeah,
at that point,
yeah.
this will be also coming back to Land Use and Planning and Parks Board, and we'll address that side of it there. Are we good moving that forward for action?
Everybody okay with that? Any other questions?
Committee Chair Ronnie?
Okay. Resolution to set solid waste fees. So we have a new contract with Republic Services, and I'll just note, the highest, amount that the fees will increase is 4.5%. It could be lower, but, in this table down here, it represents the highest increase possible over the next 5 years. So it could be less than this. It doesn't necessarily, but in the resolution, we just were representing, the city was just staff representing, the highest that it could possibly be. So that's what this is. And this was in our contract that we just signed with Republic Services setting these fees. And it will be, it says the contract calls for an annual rate increase based on the CPI Water Sewer Trash Index, or 4.5%, whichever is lower. So, and plus we do have a 3% admin fee to offset the costs associated with administering and managing the program. So you will see that down below. Any questions?
No questions, just a slight typo that I just caught, and I kind of wish it was accurate. Interagency grizzle bear. I think from now on, I'm just going to refer to grizzly bears as grizzle bears.
I love that.
Right?
I get a little grizzle.
You little grizzle bear.
Where is that?
It's under,
Right above
or
the
just above
table.
the table, yep.
Oh, looky there.
The
Yep.
grizzle bears.
There's your grizzle bear. I can't not. It's just my new favorite thing.
I know.
Any other comments at the table? good moving that then forward for action next time.
All right, so, discuss annexation into the Red Lodge Fire District, next steps in public outreach. We discussed this just a little bit today. We more focused on, the contract that we are, our current fire department contract and amending it, so that we take some of the costs in our next budget out of the general fund and have it be in the resort tax, because that's very important. So it's kind of they're two separate things, but what we're really focused on right now is our budget is coming up and our general fund is hurting. So, and we have no idea what a mill is going to be worth with the new property tax changes. And so if the value of the mill goes up a lot, and we don't take our contract out of the 28 mills base, we could see a significant increase in what we're paying the fire department in this next fiscal year, and it will all come out of general fund. So we did talk a little bit, just because this is on the agenda, that we will be working on getting hopefully a 1 or 2 page letter sent out to every property owner in the city limits, explaining what we're doing, asking them to sign the petition, but also giving them invitations to public meetings and public hearings, so that we will be there to, someone will be there to answer their questions, and we'll have a presentation. So we are working on that, but the primary focus today ended up being more on our amending our current agreement. And what we talked about was, this is all just basic, discussion right now. It hasn't been agreed to, but we talked about having for this next fiscal year, having $240,000 come out of the general fund for our fire, and then 10% of our 3% of resort tax for capital for our fire department. And that would be out of our last fiscal year. So we would, it would be from July 2025 to July 2026. Resort tax collected, we would set aside 10% for the fire department, if this passes. It also has to go through the fire department board.
And my understanding is that they are actually, they had a board meeting tonight, and they are basically coming back to, if we present this as an amendment, will they accept it? Because basically this amendment has to be accepted by our board, which is you, and their board, which is there. I would like to have this for below the fold discussion next time, but everybody has a copy of this as an amendment. We could redo the whole contract, but I think it almost makes sense that the fewer words, the better. But if there's any comments or input that folks have on that we could do below the fold next time, and then we'll have it up for action in a couple of weeks. I will add, by the way, that second meeting in June, I anticipate, just for public awareness, that the resort tax board will be coming and meeting. That's generally when they come and present what their recommendation to me putting together the budget is. So for folks who are interested, just mark that the second meeting in June is when I anticipate that will be. But then that would actually, this would be up for discussion at that same meeting. But again, that's not our passing our budget. That's just them presenting their initial recommendations.
And people were asking, how much is this compared to before? Typically, we've been around anywhere between 275 up to 310,000, depending on what the value of a mill is. And there's a potential that the value could raise significantly this next year. But this would be, if you do 10% of our last year's, it would be 140,000 plus the 240, so that's 380. So it is a bump up, but it's also very dependent on what the resort tax will be this next year, at the end of July. And the last 2 quarters have been down compared to the year before. So there's also a distinct possibility it would be less than the 140 that, from the year before. So it could end up being a wash. It's just the fact that the resort tax is going to help pay for it instead of it all coming out of the general fund. And then what we also discussed is you have to realize that if you allocate resort tax for something like this, our discretionary amount that we have been able to spend on different projects is also going to go down. Typically, we have about $450,000 every year of resort tax that we can actually spend on a project, and this will decrease it. So it's just something to keep in mind. It's the reality of what it is.
By the way, the $240,000 at the top half is the equivalent of what they would be collecting from city residents if they were collecting the same 21 mills of city equivalent mills as they are everybody else in the district. So right now, we're paying 28. This 240 is converting it to a cash number and then goes up at cost of inflation rather than having it be mills. Councilmember Battles threw together some charts for us, and we've seen where that 28 mills, one year was it 20 and 30% that it bounced between? So it has been 20% of our general fund, it has been 30% of our general fund, which is why we are trying to get out of the mills market on our contract. And so this is the interim solution. I would still be interested in pursuing the annexation into the fire district to help address the lost purchasing revenue that the city's lost since 2000. But this gets us out of that mills danger that we're in right now.
And I do think it's important that we can express when we have these meetings and these conversations, and specifically at our next meeting, what the consequence will be if we don't pass this amendment in terms of what will happen to our general fund. If these mills go up, who's getting fired, what services are getting cut. So those are I think that's important to make public, because realistically, if we go and look at our resort tax survey that just came back, emergency services is at the very bottom of the barrel. And we're essentially saying, oh, well, we're going to go do exactly what you told us not to, but we need to have a good explanation. We better have a damn good reason why.
Other discussion at the table?
I think that's a good summary. It takes away the volatility of the mills that we might see this next year.
Okay, so again, that will be below the fold. It won't be up for action next time, but this will be below the fold with the intent of getting this passed in June so that I can factor that into our budget as we put together the budget.
Okay. All right, next, we did discuss the action plan, applying for the Safe Streets grant for our action plan. When we found out about this, we literally had 30 days to fill out a grant application and apply. We were told that it was going to be a fairly easy federal grant application to fill out and apply for. It turns out it was 36 pages. So what basically happened is, rather than turn in a half-done, crappy application, we decided to wait and work on it and apply next year. I really want us to get this action plan in place because it does open up a lot more federal funding for streets and sidewalks, the safety, putting sidewalks where we don't have sidewalks. And then we can use our resort tax as a match, because now, we do not have enough resort tax to do all the projects that we want to do, especially for streets and sidewalks. It's not enough. So we need help, we need grants, and this is the way, I feel, to get it.
How will we, okay, how am I going to say this? Next year, we'll get more than 30 days,
well, we'll know about it.
Oh, okay.
This
Homework
was kind
can
of
be done.
this was kind of thrown on us. Main Street program got a list of potential grants, and they said, hey, here's a great grant, let's apply for it. You should apply for it, or apply for it to get the action plan, because you have to have the action plan in place before you can apply for projects. And we're like, yeah, let's do that. And Nick Gaddy and Mary Vett like, absolutely, we're all about doing it, and Mary Beth was like, there's just no way we can do this justice.
Very comprehensive.
Yeah.
And
So we're on the list to be notified, is that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And there is a possibility, there's a lot of time they put these grants out with a quick 30-day turnaround, and what they find out is that nobody ends up putting in for it because it was unrealistic. So it would not be beyond comprehension that they repost this and say, okay, now it's out with a 90-day window or something. So the same limitations that we felt were already felt by others unless they already had that plan done, but given the grant was to build that plan. So part of it's being ready before it happens.
And
Right.
Safe Streets is for the community, is for the city, who
The
else
city.
can, the city?
I'm not sure, I'm not sure.
Mary Vet is involved, so it must involve more than just the city.
Only because it was on Main Street and she sent us the grant, and then Nick
She's part of
offered,
it, yeah.
yeah, and Nick offered to help write the grant, and Mary Beth was like, I'll help you.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
Because I don't write grants. So,
And Merivet does it very well.
I know, so she said it couldn't be done, and it was, yeah.
And again, it's better to not submit a grant than to submit a bad grant, because it does very much affect your credibility. Yeah.
So, and then, the other thing that we did talk about on an aside of that was, potentially in the resort tax budget, putting money aside, for grant matches, including this one, because this would have had a $30,000 match, for it. So, to be able to have that line item budgeted for grant matches, and that's just something to discuss, because that's the way to make our resort tax go further, so. And then council training updates, we didn't really get a chance to discuss this, but I didn't know if anyone had gotten a chance to go online and review any of those.
I took 2 classes.
Yay! Good for you.
And, the first one was, just introduction with Mr. Clark, and then, but it was an hour, so it's good.
Was it worth it?
Yeah,
Okay, good.
so,
Good.
but there's like 8 or 10 that were listed there, so I just did 2.
That's good.
Did your email able to include the links to the handbook PDF forms?
I got the handbook.
Okay.
Yeah,
Excellent.
yeah, I did do that. So, I guess just update us on how that's going, and then if we're ready to, have Mr. Clark come, so that we can maybe do a little deeper dive with some, questions that aren't necessarily out there.
Yeah.
Answers that aren't out there.
Training is always a good thing.
Yes, perfect. Okay. Jeremy, Chelsea, did I miss anything?
I had on
Thank you.
the standing committee agenda, the, NWE FERC filing, was that a different committee that discussed that?
Oh.
No, that was
what?
this committee, but it didn't make it onto the agenda. So we
It
can
did
either,
not.
we could talk about it now, or we could do the,
Yeah,
Do it
I'm
under
sorry.
correspondence.
Yeah,
or
we
other
could,
correspondence, that's fine.
we can talk, we did talk about it at admin and finance. Jeremy has, we had an update from sustainability, which Jeremy is on, and, Ms. Steve was there as well.
And I can talk about it too. if you'd like.
Yeah, go ahead, please. I
So-
probably talked enough.
Yeah, so this came out of the, the comment that we got from, Brad Molnar, and so that sort of sent us off on a research path, requesting Sustainability Board give us some answers, some input, and essentially, they came back, had a good discussion, had a couple meetings, and, the recommendation is on page 48 in your packet. Essentially, I took that recommendation and put it into a letter form that I think I would encourage you all to sign before we go. That would be a way for us to put in, as a unified body, a public comment expressing 3 concerns mainly. One, just recognizing that the demand for power is profoundly going to be changing in the coming future, it seems. And then that this merger may affect or weaken the Public Service Commission's ability to represent us under a bigger banner of a larger entity, and that there really isn't a cohesive regulatory strategy for these data centers and large consumers. And so this letter basically just highlights those concerns. If there's more that we wanted to do, we could come back and actually vote on a resolution and submit that as well. I did get a email back from, the director of MEIC, and they have their ear to the ground on this kind of thing. And it is still worth, putting in public comment. The May 12th was a hearing specifically on the merger, but public comment can be received up until they make a decision, and it sounds like, they'll be filing post-hearing briefs and responses up until the end of the summer. But obviously, sooner is better. If we get this letter in, great. If we want to go further, we can do that as well.
And in order for it to be a formalized resolution, we would need to have that done and published, sunshine laws, we'd have to have that published 48 hours before we did it. So there was a couple of alternatives that were discussed today. In the interest of time, it was just that here's a letter and have unified signatures on that as it turned in. That's each council member's decision. The alternative is if we were going to call an emergency meeting and give ourselves at least a 48-hour notice and have that as a single action item that we came to do, then we could do it as a formal resolution. But I think the feedback was input soon, non-formal is better than missing the opportunity.
I think that's accurate.
Which could close at any moment.
But I would also like to hear from full council if you think a resolution would be appropriate and something we should pursue for later meetings, not necessarily as an emergency meeting, but if they're still hearing through the end of the summer, then.
I think the only thing that I would have concerns on for signing for is having this conversation come this morning and then having a signature, because that signature isn't just a representation of me and what I understand of this, which I will say is not much, but it's also representing the people within the ward.
Sure.
And so that would be my only concern, is that that this hasn't been really publicized beyond right now. And so that's otherwise, I mean, if I'm signing on behalf of me, that's one thing, but that'd be my only concern.
I would say it doesn't commit us to any action. It just highlights what I consider at least legitimate concerns.
Yeah, and I agree with that. And that's one of the things that's like, okay, if I'm signing this on behalf of me of legitimate concerns and I'm signing on behalf of our advisory committee, and that's more what I'm thinking, is that our advisory committee is people that should be entrusted with public feedback, and they are the ones making that recommendation. So that's kind of where my internal conscience is fighting right now, so.
Councilmember Battles, is there an option, or do you see a value in sending a letter that says, we're working on a formal resolution to send you, but heads up, this is what's coming in the resolution?
I doubt that.
Does that mean it or does that not mean it?
And I think end of the day, it doesn't have to be a resolution. I think it just, having it as an actual agenda item is more my thought, to where it's something that's publicly noticed. So if there is somebody here who's just like, I really love data centers, they have the ability to speak. Like, that's kind of my thought process there. And again, end of the day, I do very much trust my gut with trusting our advisory committees into, if they are advising us as a council to make this decision and it's been vetted by them and something that there has been opportunity for public feedback, that's something I feel better about. But it's just, I do want that to be verbalized, that my concern is when it's not on the agenda and we are representing not just ourselves and our own feelings, but also the people, they should have the opportunity to read that, see it, and speak to it.
And if we're signing it as council members,
Exactly.
you are doing that. So when we're done with this discussion, what I'll do is I'll do a straw poll and see if you guys want to put this on for so it's in the packet for next time, or we go there.
Well, it was in the packet, it did not make it on the agenda, the recommendation.
Well, the letter was not in the packet.
No, but the sustainability.
The recommendation.
That's, okay, that does make me feel better.
Yeah, the recommendation from the sustainability board was in the packet.
Yeah, I guess it's just.
To your point, it was not on the actual agenda.
Yep.
Well, and the letter wasn't written yet.
No, the letter is a summary of the recommendation.
It's a formalized version of the recommendation. And I think, again, the recommendation from sustainability carries a substantial weight in my eyes, so.
What is council's pleasure? Councilmember Rood?
Aye.
Would I to sign it tonight and get it sent, or I to put it on the agenda?
Yeah. I'll put it, well, Jeremy recommends signing it tonight, correct? So let's sign it tonight.
We can go further later if we wish.
Okay.
And it's not I mean, it's basically all he is explaining is, hey, these are our concerns.
Yeah.
Like, and tread, lightly and make sure
Right.
and be just cautious of your decision. It's not
Yeah,
like,
not taking a position yet,
Correct,
not
yeah.
at all.
So that does help.
It's a time-sensitive,
Right.
potentially.
yeah, so let's do it tonight if we can.
Yeah.
My vote, aye.
I agree with Ann. I think we should.
Is there any further discussion on this item you'd like to have before we move on? Otherwise, after we close the meeting, council member Battles will have a copy and be happy to collect signatures of those who are happy signing it.
Yep, great, thank you, Jeremy.
Council member Battles, does that address that, how you would hope for tonight?
Given the time frame, and I would agree that in general, it would be nice to have a further, looking ahead, and Sustainability Board, I know, is intending on doing that. So let's,
Yeah.
upcoming public comment periods are on our radar.
Thank you.
Committee Chair
I think.
running, anything else?
Did I miss anything else?
Nothing that was missed, but just a request for our next meeting, if you don't mind. For admin and finance, we need to, review the T-bid agenda.
Okay.
So,
Will you remind me?
yep,
Thank you.
Is that-
or not agenda, the budget.
Okay.
Yep, thank you.
When does that presentation for council normally?
That'll be at the next meeting.
So do you want to do it at the next meeting
Yes,
then?
please. Yep.
Okay.
We'll do the presentation, and then if we feel so inclined, we can vote, or we can extend the vote, but it has to be approved before July, which is really soon.
Okay, so that, just so let me tell you what I'm hearing is, the presentation will be ready.
Yep,
We'll get a resolution, and it's gonna have one of those funky little stars next to it that says this didn't go through a dry run first.
I mean, we could even vote on it the last meeting of June, but we'll do the presentation next week, or next meeting.
That second meeting of June is starting to get really full, is what I'm thinking.
And if we want to vote on it sooner, that's also fine.
Is council okay moving with,
Yes.
for action next time? It's generally a non-controversial thing.
I know, it really is no city funds at all.
None,
It's
Zero.
completely collected by,
Their rules just say they have to give us a presentation of what they're doing.
Has to be approved by, basically kind of like with library, the budget has to be approved by the city, even though the council and the city don't have any way of dictating it. It's a really silly process, and I would love to just get rid of that eventually. That'd be great.
So what we'll do is we'll have that during the action portion of the meeting
Perfect.
next time with the star.
Thank you.
all right, we are finally done with.
Any
admin.
other questions for admin and finance from the table?
Somewhere.
All right. Next, we will go to land use and planning, and for that, we will go to Committee Chair Tupin.
Hello, land use and planning. So specifically, ordinance number 960, second amended, Title 8, Chapter 8, use of city-owned land. This is going back to permitted events and then allowing or exempting expression, freedom of expression from that. We made those final tweaks and edits. There was one comment from Dave today. Specifically, we had a discussion about, there was a section in the very end saying that if someone could have two insurance providers telling them that they cannot get insurance, that we would waive that. And we took that out because that's ridiculous. And if insurance providers aren't willing to insure them, then we probably shouldn't have the event. And so,
Might be a little risky.
so we did want to include, though, that instead of removing it entirely, that, what was it specifically? There is.
It's the other paragraph that didn't have to do with that. This was
No.
having to do with
I was hoping to remember.
indigent person.
Yep.
It basically said if you were indigent, you didn't have to provide insurance, and those are not related issues.
Yep.
And so basically, what it is if it's an indigent person and staff can confirm that the event is covered by the city policy,
Yep.
then.
Then they
we
can
will-
waive that.
Then
Yep.
we can waive it.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Can confirm city insurance is not adequate or is determined inadequate.
If staff can't confirm coverage is adequate.
Yeah, okay, is adequate. Yeah.
We had it as, if it's not, then we can deny the application.
And then
Yeah.
it will deny.
Yeah, and we'll
So
deny.
this takes care of, like, if someone wants to have a kid's birthday party.
Correct.
And they don't have home insurance or renter's insurance, and
Correct.
they can't afford to go get that or
Yep.
can't get it.
Yep.
But
Then,
as a good
then the
example-
city's insurance would be able to.
But as a good
cover it.
example, MMIA has said we will not cover bouncy houses.
Right.
Right.
So
So
if you
again,
wanted,
if
you
they
couldn't
wanted,
have a bouncy house.
if they didn't want the bouncy house, then, or if they want the bouncy house, then that's a no. But if there is a bouncy house, or if there is no bouncy house, and it's just cupcakes that are gluten-free and zero allergens,
Wow.
then they can have it. Don't you dare put a peanut on that table, though, otherwise we're out. So specifically, that was the final edit to that. I do want to have this up for action, and I'll have that final edit in place for the packet, but very minimal changes.
Okay.
Love
Yeah.
to get this done, and
I see this more as like a typical activity in the park.
correct.
And the only reason why they're asked for insurance is because they want to rent to make sure they have that space
Yeah,
available.
they want an exclusive use.
So
for
they have to get the
gazebo.
application.
So
and-
they have to do this application piece, but the
Yeah.
concept, like, again, not everyone has renter's insurance, and
Home
it's kind
insurance
of-
and-
if I'm having 10,
They
12-year-olds.
should, but.
They should, yes.
Yeah.
But we can't tell people how to live their lives. Anyhow, putting that to bed, if everyone's okay with that, would love to have that up for action at our next meeting.
That sounds good. Those are good changes.
Otherwise, we had a very great conversation, very excited about, the use of city-owned land, the change of use in city-owned land. We had passed on, some of our thoughts and concepts and requests to the city planners and received, great input back from them that we were able to review line by line today. Specifically, there's three total pieces that were included. There is, oh, this got backwards, I apologize. There's an application as well as just a process and timeline, community projects, just policy, review procedures, and application framework. So really now we do have a starting point for when people want to have the change of use of city-owned land. And there's 3 different application types, so those are outlined. We have minor, administrative, so temporary or reversible projects. There's the review levels just with administration, so then that way it doesn't necessarily have to come to council or full scale. Then there's a standard improvement partnership, or standard improvement or a partnership, so this would be like your MOUs, gardening, trails, those types of projects that are permanent improvements with moderate impacts. So that would include staff and council. And then there's your major projects, legacy projects, and that's your large-scale or long-term projects that will have a comprehensive review.
Like tennis courts or ice skating rinks.
Yes, sir.
If I may just add for public awareness, 2 things. All of those things will be in the packet next time.
Yes,
So the public will have complete access to that.
yes.
And in addition, that is the primary topic of next land use and planning meeting, and the planner will be there going through. So for the public who has, I'm sure that's a conversation with lots of interest. That
Yep.
will be next, or in 2 weeks on,
Monday. No.
Yes.
when is your normal meeting? 4:30 on
Monday
Monday?
at 4:30.
Monday at
June
4:30?
8th.
June 8th.
And if anyone wants to see this ahead of time, because I'm the kind of person that wants 2 weeks at minimum, if not 2 years, to look something over. So if someone wants to see this ahead of time, please feel free to reach out to me, and I can send what they had sent to us. It was really enlightening and just lovely to go through this as line by line with the committee and see a lot of our concepts and thoughts that we had kind of put into a really simple version that is digestible for lovely folks like Barb. Whenever you're starting a project, now you have a process that you can expect and have, a pretty understandable or reasonable expectation of how the process will go. And again, it also has different scales to where if it's something simple, you're not having to go through and get a PAR, an engineering study, and all of these types of pieces because you want to plant a tree. So I'm really thrilled with how this turned out. And then on top of that, he even provided a resolution of intent for this. So it's really coming together nicely. So we will have Jeremy Fadness at our next meeting. Us as a committee will be going through this and making edits and recommendations and providing questions. And we highly recommend, community to do the same. And then again, anyone who wants to submit things early, if they can't attend, please by all means send it our way. And if you would like to see this early, please reach out to me and I'd be happy to get this emailed out to whoever I could. So, any other comments, questions, feedback from LUP for?
And just so everyone knows, I mean, because these are publicly noticed meetings, anyone on council can swing by and listen or watch it online, participate as well.
Yep.
It's not, just because you're not on the committee doesn't mean you can't.
Stay out of my meetings. No.
You can't be more, you know, so it is.
I hate it when people show up.
Anything else you want to add, Committee Chair Tupin?
No, that's everything.
Any questions from the table for land use and planning? Please, make sure you get a chance to spend some time on that. Like I said, that's
cool.
been what's the word, advised by or influenced by the last year of our lives, really. We've had a lot of discussions and conversations that have come up, and so that those have all gone into this process, and hopefully we're nearing in on it and smoothing the road for folks in the future. All right, with nothing there then, let's go to our last, which is Public Works. And the Public Works meeting was canceled because of the holiday. Does somebody want to speak to the items that are there, or do we have the solid waste discussion? Is any of that stuff that's moving forward for next time?
So resolution to award phase 2 and 3 of the wastewater system improvement project for the city of Red Lodge will be, I believe, up for action at the next meeting.
That's the fill in the blank one you have in the packet.
So,
that
and
they
that's
open up on the 28th.
and that's and you already spoke to that. So anybody have any questions on that? Because it will be up for action next time. It's just awarding that project. Okay. And then ordinance number 973, First Amendment, updated section 4.1.16 solid waste. We do have this in the packet. There was some great, I mean, I don't know if you all had a chance to read through it or not, but there's some great changes in there. We basically codified our current policies and procedures for residential solid waste. We amended ordinance 973, which was the one we approved last year. So for commercial and dumpsters. So I think if anybody has any questions on this, did everybody get a chance to read through it? We kind of talked about, we've been talking about it. Dennison has reviewed it, and this does include his updates and changes. But basically, like I say, you know, it's just every residential unit within the city of Red Lodge is required to have one bear-resistant container, which is contracted service that the city of Red Lodge provides.
Is that Grizzle Bear?
Yes, Grizzle Bear, yes. The residential solid waste services shall be billed monthly on the property owner's utility bill. So it just basically is saying what we're doing, because we did not have it, the residential part codified. And then it does also, garbage rates may increase on an annual basis and shall be set by resolution, which we are passing at our next meeting, hopefully. And it gives the option residential units of more than 4 units on one property may choose to have a latching dumpster for their tenants in lieu of individual bear-resistant containers with the service of their choice. Although I think they can only use public services in town, but you never know. So
There are multiple.
there are?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
They just have to go through. What I think you're thinking of is there was a few years back where there was a provider that had not gone through the commission and been licensed
Gotcha.
to go to
Okay.
the area.
Well, that makes,
Cost of kerfuffle.
that's good to know.
like him.
Let's see, what else? Oh, and then we also put in there that if any container or dumpster is determined by local authorities and or contracted services to be overfilled 3 times within a 1-year period, the property owner will be required to have and pay for an additional container or increase their dumpster size or the number of pickups. because our goal is to keep our garbages in the garbage cans and not next to them with our bears that we have going on.
That's separate in addition to just the $100 fine, which
Yeah.
doesn't require, so hopefully
Yeah.
we will have convinced them a lot sooner than a year that the second can is worthwhile.
Yeah, exactly. And then there is also in here that, I'm just gotta find it, where, if you have an accessory dwelling unit on your property and you are not receiving monetary compensation from that, and it's not, it's not rented or used as a living quarters for 30 or more days, you can opt out of the second container. You still have to have at least one, and you have to sign basically an affidavit with the city saying that it's basically just a guest house or an empty, you're not getting any money for it, and people aren't living there.
So if you're getting money,
You're not getting any money.
but what I'm saying, if you are getting money, you're required to have a trash can?
Yes, you're required to have 2 cans. It's 1 garbage can per residential unit.
Okay.
And an accessory dwelling unit is a second unit, residential unit. And the only way you get out of it is if you're not getting any
Sign
money.
an affidavit that says you're not using it as an accessory dwelling unit and
Yeah.
you're not getting paid for it, right? Both
Like it's an office, like you're.
Right. I just wonder, like,
Mhm.
with the, again, if it's an office and it's for storage and they have a bag of trash that they can put in with yours once a year, or
That's-
like if it's your personal office and you're, I don't know.
That-
I just feel like
that's
the
what
money
it's made
piece is
for.
weird to me. Like, I just don't feel like it's needed.
Well, you can't be, well, it is kind of, because if you're renting it out.
You're renting it. so
Yeah, if you're renting it and getting money for it, then you have to have another can.
What if I were like a really crappy in-law who's living back there for free and taking way too much trash?
Well, then
I
if you overflow your can more than 3 times, you have to have another can.
Yeah, I just feel like the monetary piece is just interesting to me, but my brain's also a little.
Yeah, when we talked about it with, staff, Denise thought the staff thought that there was very few instances where they would the person would actually qualify for this.
Right.
So is the intent that this will be above the fold next time, or is this still below the fold conversation?
I think I'm good with above if you all are. I don't foresee any changes in this unless you have some now that you ordered next time.
Well, I heard the one conversation about reevaluating the monetary piece,
Oh.
whether that's there or not.
It sounds weird to me too, to be
Yeah.
honest, but.
I think of one
So-
example, and it's I just feel like instead of having monetary there, it's just like if someone wants to try and file saying they don't need the second, and they can prove that they don't need the second, why not just let them do
Well,
that?
we didn't want, if it's being lived in, like a full-time rental or a short-term rental,
Uh-huh.
you have to have a can. So that's where we were coming in with the monetary. You're getting monetary compensation.
But if the in-laws are there, I'm not charging them, they're free, but they should have a.
No.
because they-
No. It also says if you're living in it for more than 30 days. So if your in-laws are living in it at free, they still need a second garbage can.
And what if you're not living in the primary home and someone's living in the ADU?
You still need
Or living in their car.
oh my God.
I'm living there for 45 days.
Sorry, I will read back through this, and if I have any
Yes,
feedback, I will let
please.
you know.
Yeah, if you have a
I'm
proposed amendment,
Please let me know, if you can think of a way to say it.
Yeah. Councilmember
Because you know what we're trying for, right?
If you
Poke it holes in your can.
and maybe,
No,
and maybe
sorry.
reach out to Councilmember Battles, because it sounds like he shared a similar concern.
I know,
So you
and,
guys can come with some
and this
concrete
was,
steps.
I mean, Dennison was like, okay, yeah, this will work, so, like, let me know what else we can say, so that it makes sense to you.
So that'll be up
Oh, my
for
Lord.
action. Well, the next meeting's full again.
Well, again,
Yeah.
we didn't want to have a short meeting, I just.
No, I know.
Yeah, not like this one.
So that was all we had, because we did not have a meeting, so we did not, get the update from, our public works director like we usually do, so.
So, and
That makes
hopefully
all
I
of our-
covered that with
yeah.
the road projects during the mayor's comment stuff. And like I said, I anticipate we'll get those updated this week, so keep an eye on that. And for everybody, if you go to the city website and go to the bottom where it says news, or however that shows up on your mobile device, one of the 4 news tabs on the far right is current projects, and that has all the calendars, timelines, and everything that is happening. And it's updated, it's visited weekly and bi-weekly as we get new information. Anything else, Committee Chair Tupin?
Nope.
Any questions from the table for Public Works? All right, hearing none, let's, we're down to correspondence. And did anybody get any additional correspondence or last minute correspondence they'd like to share with the table as a whole?
I just want to say thank you for getting in the correspondence, that I had received prior to last meeting, so,
From Rebecca and Don.
and I'm just scrolling through, yeah.
And again, if you get correspondence, if you will forward that on to Lonnie, if you notice she was not on the chain, if it'll make it in by Friday, then it'll be in the packet. If it comes in after, our technical cutoff is Thursday, but it's generally about midday Friday that goes out by noon. If it comes in after that, we'll still try to print it and get it out to everybody here, but it won't be in the packet for the public until the following meeting. Councilmember Ruth?
We all got a letter from Jeff Wise and with a link to his slideshow about our sidewalks and some text. I watched it a couple times. It looks like 150 people have watched it. And I thought it was very edifying, and I wanted to thank him for that.
Okay. Good soundtrack.
Other correspondence, comments, Councilmember, Davis?
The admin of the Pea Cannery invited the council members, again, they reached out recently, to do a tour. They said that Brian Hanna and Mike Maples have been very involved and back and forth several times, so they're well aware. But if anybody would like to...
Is there a date?
They said May or June. We're almost out of May, so any date in June, we could do 3 council members at a time. So if there's a date or time, just email me and I'll coordinate with the admin staff over there.
Councilmember Davis, did you by chance have anything from the fire committee that you wanted to announce today? Or?
Not at this meeting.
Okay.
No, I'm still going through with Tom Smith on that.
Okay.
For next
I was thinking of the last meeting, you said the next meeting, you meant the one tonight, but you meant the one in 2 weeks.
No.
Okay, I just didn't want to forget. So.
No, I like to clear it first before I...
All right. Anything at the table before we go to public comment? All right, so with that, we are at public comment to end our meeting. This is, again, the public's opportunity to be heard by council on anything within the council's purview. Same rules. Please address your comments to the table. 3 minutes. State your name for the record. We'll go ahead and open public comment.
Hi, my name's Seth Decker. I'm at 601 South White. You guys are going to be surprised, but I'm not here to complain about anything tonight. So, no, I want to commend the land use and planning. They did an excellent job on the change use form. And it provides structure, it provides a process, a procedure, and it really kind of risk assesses each project. So Chelsea went over each section today and what's part of, I call low, medium, and high risk, but I think it's really great. So I know you said you didn't do it, but you guys worked hard. You worked hard on all this to get it to that point, so you do need to be commended for it.
Public comment.
So, with that said, one thing I don't know, I know you talked about the financial side of that this morning, but Jody brought up a good point with CPI. Usually CPI goes up every year, 3 to 6%. So in those major projects that are going to require maintenance, that's something to consider as well. So on the other thing, and I know you may not be able to answer this, Jody, on the fire, on the letters you guys are going to be sending out, I know in the past meeting you said that those were going to have to be notarized signatures. Is that still what's going to have to happen with those?
So we'll make note of that, and then we can respond to that after
sounds
public
good.
comment.
That's all I got. Thanks, guys.
All right. Other public comment from within the chambers? Seeing none in chambers, let's look to online. This is public comment on anything within council's purview. If I see a mic go off mute or a raised hand, I'll assume that's somebody who's wanting to talk. That was called the first notice. Second call for public comment. And the third call for public comment, we'll go ahead and close the public comment together. I would like to, use the chair to address a question that had come up about signatures. There were two cases where signatures are gonna be notarized as we've been working with the elections official. Basically, they validate signatures by looking at their voting registers. So if it's a property that's owned by a business, there will need to be a notary to say that person has the right to do it, because businesses don't get to vote. Or if it is a second home and the person lives somewhere else and is registered to vote someplace else, then it will require a signature, so they have the ability to validate those signatures. So that's all stuff that's still ahead of us, but those were the projects. I hope I was able to address the questions that came up from that. With that, having covered the agenda, anybody want to make a motion?
Patty?
I move to adjourn.
Meeting is